And Vladimir Putin has called for closer military cooperation with China. The Russian president was speaking during a video summit with the Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Though Beijing has not condemned Russia's war in Ukraine, it's also not provided Russia with any direct support. Moscow's latest airstrikes have left most of Ukraine without power.
More attacks from Russia on Ukrainian cities, round after round of drones and cruise missiles. Even though Ukraine's air defences are largely holding up, falling debris from the intercepted rockets still causes significant damage. As this woman in Kyiv looks on in her children's bedroom, glass everywhere, Vladimir Putin held talks with his Chinese counterpart. The video call happened to take place on the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Soviet Union. Its demise is something Putin bitterly regrets. Together, he and Xi Jinping want to stand up to pressure from the West, and Putin, at least, wants closer military cooperation with Beijing.
A special place in Russian-Chinese relations is occupied by military and technical cooperation. This contributes to the security of our countries. We aim to strengthen cooperation between the armed forces of Russia and China.
In a difficult international situation, we are ready to build up strategic cooperation with Russia, provide each other with development opportunities, and be global partners for the benefit of our peoples.
China's official stance on Putin's war is being, quote, objective and fair. Xi told Putin that position isn't changing and that the road to peace would not be smooth. Putin called Xi his dear friend and invited him to Moscow early next year.
Let's have a look at this with Velina Chakarova, who heads the Austrian Institute for European and Security Policy and came up with the term dragon bear to refer to the China-Russia partnership. Welcome to DW. Is China as keen on building military links with Russia as Russia is on building those links with it?
It seems so, though we don't know exactly the scope and scale of the military technological cooperation between these two states. A lot hasn't been revealed yet, so we have heard about the intentions, about their plans. A lot of military exercises has been conducted, and even during Russia's war against Ukraine. But this domain is obviously the one that's going to be exploited and explored in the years to come. Obviously, Russia has become completely dependent on China to bypass the Western sanctions. Some even described it as a vassal of China or a junior partner. But China also needs to support Russia in this critical phase of Russia's war, because it has to avoid that a new security vacuum could emerge in the north of its borders next to the military tensions with India along the line of actual control, as well as the military escalation in the Strait of Taiwan. So it's not an altruistic relationship. It's really based on realpolitik national interest. And I anticipate that the military cooperation will further deepen and increase.
You see, that's very interesting. So China embracing Russia is less to do with China and Russia being necessarily on the same economic page or having the same worldview, and more about if Russia remains stable, then at least that border is taken care of, and we don't want anyone messing with that.
It's more than that. It's, of course, also about backing each other in terms of potential risks at home, so meaning arising from internal instability, riots and political crises. These two leaders fear their own population the most. So, of course, having a predictable partner is one of the major common goals, but also creating a credible credible counterweight to the American global power projection in all relevant corners of the world. And thus, once again, they need to show a military muscle through military exercises, through, of course, coordination, be it in the space exploration, be it in the satellites, or, as I said, in the military technology domain. So it's not just about...
A quick word on this notion of coordination, because you've written recently that China and Russia may have coordinated the timing of the Ukraine invasion. What makes you suspect that?
Well, obviously, the Russian president timed the start of the all-out war with the end of the Olympics, knowing how important this was to the Chinese president Xi Jinping, following, of course, the deteriorating standing of China amid the looming pandemic. So the timing was certainly coordinated with the end of the pandemics. Now, I would argue that it appears that China's true intention, given the summit between the Chinese president and the Russian president on February 4th, where they announced this relationship with no limits, this friendship with no limits, I argued that the China's true intention was not to side with Russia to give a green light to the war, but rather to provide a credible counterweight to the American efforts to decouple from China, to create an alliance of democracies. You remember probably also the boycott of the Olympic Games. And once the war started, China had to support Russia, which actually happened.
Thank you so much. Fascinating. Thanks for joining us. Evelina Chakarova of the Austrian Institute for European and Security Policy.
Thank you very much.